A very good morning. Is just past 10 by the clock. I'm Anil Thomas and welcome to News on the Hour. Over the next 60 minutes, this is your show that matters not only for people in India but also the rest of the world. Over the next 1 hour, we'll get you all the happenings from the field of politics, business, sports, entertainment. We cut all the noise and bring you facts as it happens there on the ground zero. Let's get started with the top headlines at the top of this hour. External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar to make a statement regarding India's Vaccine Maitri initiative in the Parliament today. In Lok Sabha, BJP issues whip to all its MPs to be present. Union Cabinet clears setting up of a new bank for infrastructure development with 20,000 crore capital infusion. Finance Minister also asserts decision to privatize bank is a well thought out one, assures that interest of existing employees will be protected at all cost. After Maharashtra, Gujarat and Madhya Pradesh take steps to check the rise of COVID numbers, night curfew to be imposed from today in many cities including Ahmedabad and Bhopal. 8 states reporting spike in fresh COVID cases. Maharashtra reports the highest rise with 15,000 new cases. Over 19 lakh vaccines administered yesterday. British Prime Minister Boris Johnson announces his visit to India next month. Says visit aimed at strengthening bilateral ties. Also invites India to the G7 summit to be held in UK this June. The EU's medicines regulator says firmly convinced the benefits of Astrazeneca's vaccine outweigh the potential risk. Insists no evidence linking vaccine to blood clots after several European nations suspend the shot over health fears. Meanwhile, total COVID-19 deaths across Europe crosses the grim mark of 9 lakh. India lose by 8 wickets to England in the third T20 international. Visitors lead the 5-match T20 series 2-1. Real Madrid and Manchester City reached the quarterfinals of the UEFA Champions League. In the round of 16, City beat German club Mönchengladbach 2-0, while Real Madrid defeat Atlanta 3-1. Well, let's now get started with the top story there coming from Parliament. With regards to updates from Parliament, External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar will make statements in both the houses of Parliament today regarding India's Vaccine Maitri initiative. In Rajya Sabha, the discussion will be held on the working of Ministry of Railways, Ministry of Food Processing, Industries and Ministry of Tourism. In Lok Sabha, the discussion and voting will be held on the demand for grants of Ministry of Road Transport and Highways, Ministry of Housing and Urban Affairs and Ministry of Health and Family Welfare for 2021-22. Meanwhile, Bharatiya Janata Party has issued a whip to all its members in the Lok Sabha to be present in the House throughout the day today. But for more on the story, we've got our correspondent tracking Parliament for us. Joining us this morning, Vishal Baruso. Good morning, Vishal. Looking at the way, especially in this, after a small 4-day break, Parliament functioning smoothly over the last 2 days. What's expected today in Parliament?
Well, a very good morning to you, Anil. Yes, indeed. In comparison to last week, this has been a very productive week rather. And yesterday, the lower house was extended up to 11 o'clock in the night. So the demands and grants were discussed over the Department of Education, all the departments under control of Department of Ministry of Education. And the Speaker and the Minister of Education, they stayed till late last night. And it was discussed as to how the new education policy is a revolution, not only for the country but also for the world, as the Education Minister said that India has been and shall be the Vishwa Guru. Today, the whip has been issued by BJP, and let me also tell you that earlier in the meeting, Prime Minister also had instructed all the MPs to be present in the House because it was seen that some of them were skipping the proceedings of the House. So the Prime Minister also warned it, and yesterday the BJP issuing a whip. Today, an important statement again by the Minister of External Affairs, S. Jaishankar, in the upper house of the Parliament with regard to the vaccine initiative by India. Yesterday, we saw how he went at length and in telling the members of the House as to how India has done so well as far as taking care of its people, not only in different continents, but also assuring for their employment wherever they are. And on the instructions of the Prime Minister, he had gone out to the Middle East asking the respective governments. So it is going to be a very important statement as far as this statement of the Minister of External Affairs is concerned. And in the lower house, the discussion on the voting of the budget would continue. So another hectic day as far as the Parliament is concerned. And today also the lower house could be extended. This is what I'm gathering from my sources.
Okay, also looking at the way, the Finance Minister spoke in Parliament with regards to, the permission for new private banks to participate, especially in the banking sector. The Finance Minister once again clearly stating that the RBI guidelines will be followed. And, when it comes to also giving an infrastructure push, a new infrastructure for infrastructure development, there is a new corpus that's been created, 20,000 crores being infused into it. How do you look at these two developments, especially in the banking sector and also infrastructure?
Well, absolutely, Anil, because this statement is very, very important and is going to be very important. And this follows what the Finance Minister had earlier said in the House. And she had assured that even after privatization, some of the banking unions have been objecting to, and they are apprehensive about their job security. She had made it very categorical that even after privatization, the government will take all care of the employees, so they need not worry. It is the need of the hour, and privatization would be adding to the development of the country. And because it is very much required, a necessary step, that is why it is being taken. And all things will be done under the guidelines and supervision of the apex bank of the country. So definitely it would be of much interest as to what more the Finance Minister has to say after assuring all the employees that even after privatization they would be taken care of by the government.
Also with regards to, a topic that came up for discussion yesterday was with regards to education and the challenges, especially in the digital, with adaptation to digital technology. What did the minister clearly clarify there, especially when it comes to the issue about students or, digital divide among students during the pandemic?
Well, certainly, as I informed you, that the House had to be extended, proceedings of the House had to be extended till 11 o'clock in the night, and different members of different parties, they came up with their views. The young MP from BJP from Bengaluru, he said that the e-Vidya has been very handy as far as the students are concerned, because you are also a parent and I am also a parent, and we know that because of the pandemic we are not able to send our students to the schools because of the scare of the infection, and that is why the online education has been very, very important. And not only that, not only in schools but also in colleges through different media. In fact, the Information and Broadcasting Ministry has also played a key role in the pandemic as far as imparting education, online education through different channels of Doordarshan is concerned. So the new education policy is going to play a major role as far as the future is concerned, and especially in view of the pandemic, where offline education is not that much possible because of time and again scare of the virus.
Okay.
Though India is prepared with the vaccine, but still all necessary precaution has to be taken. Anil?
Okay, we'll leave it there. Busy day in Parliament today. Important bills up for discussion, not only in Rajya Sabha and Lok Sabha, but also, the External Affairs Minister making a statement, especially with regards to the Vaccine Maitri initiative. We'll look forward to that. Thank you and appreciate you joining us with those updates there from Parliament. Well, moving on, in a big boost to infrastructure development in the country, Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman announced the setting up of a development finance institution, that's a DFI, as it was planned in the Union Budget of 2021. There will be an initial capital infusion and will stand at 20,000 crore rupees. The DFI is expected to raise long-term funds for infrastructure development in the country.
The Union Cabinet has cleared the setting up of a national bank to fund infrastructure and developmental activities in the country. The Finance Minister said that a development finance institution, DFI, will take up measures for financing long-term infrastructure and development projects in the country. Capital infusion will be of about 20,000 crore rupees. Initial grant will be of 5,000 crore rupees to be provided in this year's budget. There will be certain tax benefits to be given for a 10-year period. The government further plans to issue securities for DFIs that will reduce its cost of funding. This will in turn have a positive impact on the bond market in India. Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman thanked Prime Minister Narendra Modi for his constant gentle nudge on setting up a development finance institution.
The Cabinet has taken a decision to set up a development finance institution, through which we will have an institution, an institutional arrangement which will help in raising long-term funds. The budget provides for the initial amount. I had announced it in the budget saying capital infusion from our side would be about 20,000 crores and initial grant of 5,000 will also be made, and this year itself capital infusion is 20,000 crores. Additional increments of the grant will also be made within the 5,000 limit that has been given to the Finance Minister. And through this, we expect to raise considerable amount using this lever from the market.
In response to a media query, the Finance Minister assured that not all banks will be privatized. She added that wherever privatization happens, the interest of bank employees in those public sector banks will be protected.
The interest of the workers, interest of those who have put in services over the decades will absolutely be protected. Whether it is their salaries, whether it is their scale, whether it is their pension, it will all be taken care of. And above all, the first premise that I would like to put before you is even when we speak of privatization or disinvestment, we recognize that each one of those units perform for the economy. So if there is a coal unit or a thermal unit.
Countering Congress leader Rahul Gandhi's tweet on privatization of banks, the Finance Minister blamed that the previous UPA government is responsible for the deteriorating condition of banks.
Today public sector banks are loss-making and prompt corrective actions are bringing them out because of the telephone banking which happened during his time. His daddy would have probably nationalized the banks, but nationalizing of loss in the banks was during UPA's time. And I would want to add one more. Nationalizing corruption is what they did.
With the merger of several PSU banks, the central government plans to move towards reducing the government's stake in them so that their functioning could be improved and participation of investors could be increased. The decision to set up a separate bank to fund infrastructure projects will have far-reaching impact on the development journey of the country. Bureau Report, DD India.
Well, India's vaccine diplomacy has so far been extended to about 70 countries. Ministry of External Affairs has received several requests for the supply of Indian manufactured COVID-19 vaccines from various foreign countries. Ministry of External Affairs has stated that immunization program is being implemented in India as in other countries in a phased manner to cover the healthcare providers, frontline workers and the most vulnerable. Under the Vaccine Maitri program, India continues to supply COVID-19 vaccines to partner countries in a phased manner. The latest to receive the Made in India COVID-19 vaccines is Uzbekistan. External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar tweeted, and I quote, "Extending support to our extended neighborhood, Uzbekistan receives Made in India vaccines." Meanwhile, India is scaling peak after peak in its COVID-19 inoculation drive. Over 3 crore 50 lakh vaccine doses have been administered so far. As per the latest data, a total of 3 crore 50 lakh 64,536 vaccine doses have been administered across the country so far. Well, and now an update on COVID-19 from across the country. The COVID-19 recovery rate in the country has touched 96.56%. The Health Ministry said over 20,000 people have been discharged in the last 24 hours. With this, the total number of recoveries has gone up to over 1 crore 10 lakh 27,000. Presently, the total number of active cases in the country is 2,34,406. India's case fatality rate is currently at 1.39%, which is one of the lowest numbers globally. Let's now also take a look at figures on COVID testing in India, on how testing still continues on a large scale in India. According to the ICMR, that's the Indian Council of Medical Research, 22 crores 92 lakh 49,784 tests have been conducted so far in India, out of which on the 16th of March, that's Tuesday, in a single day, 9 lakh 69,021 COVID-19 tests being conducted in a single day. Well, after Maharashtra and Gujarat, Madhya Pradesh now has taken steps to check the rise of COVID numbers. Night curfew has been imposed in Bhopal and Indore. 8 states are reporting a fresh hike in the new COVID-19 cases. Maharashtra has reported the highest rise of COVID cases, with 15,000 cases being reported. Prime Minister Narendra Modi will chair a meeting with chief ministers of various states to take stock of the COVID situation in the country. With the surge in COVID-19 cases in Maharashtra, the centre has cautioned the states. Union Health Secretary has warned that Maharashtra was at the beginning of a second wave of the COVID-19 pandemic. In a letter to the Maharashtra government, the Union Health Secretary asked the state to focus on containment strategies and to scale up the pace of vaccination campaign, especially in districts witnessing a sharp increase in infections. Meanwhile, Maharashtra government has issued new COVID-19 guidelines. All cinema halls, single screens and multiplexes, hotels, restaurants to operate on 50% capacity. No social, cultural, political, religious gatherings to be allowed. Not more than 50 people will be allowed to be present only for the purpose of weddings. Not more than 20 people will be allowed to be present for the purpose of performance of last rites. All offices except related to health and other essential services shall work with 50% of attendance. In view of the recent spike in coronavirus cases, the Gujarat government has decided to enforce the night curfew in 4 major cities of the state and extended its timings by 2 hours with effect from March 17th in a bid to contain the sudden surge in COVID-19 cases. The curfew will now remain in force in Ahmedabad, Surat, Vadodara and Rajkot from 10 p.m. to 6 a.m. from 17th of March till the 31st of this month. Meanwhile, the remaining 3 T20 cricket matches between India and England in Ahmedabad will be held in empty stadium. In view of a rise in coronavirus cases, the Madhya Pradesh government has also issued new guidelines. Travellers from Maharashtra must undergo 7 days of home quarantine. Goods trucks from Maharashtra will be allowed after the thermal screening of drivers and others. Markets in 8 cities, Jabalpur, Gwalior, Ujjain, Ratlam, Burhanpur, Chindwara, Betul, Kargon to shut at 10 p.m. from March 17. A night curfew in capital Bhopal and also in Indore from March 17. In the meantime, Prime Minister Narendra Modi will chair a meeting with chief ministers of various states to take stock of the COVID situation in the country. Nitendra Singh's report, DD India. Well, to get an update on the COVID situation there, especially in the central part of India in Madhya Pradesh, joining us is our correspondent Aditya Srivastava from Bhopal. Aditya, good morning. Aditya, give us, purely in terms of, the situation there arising in the state of Madhya Pradesh. We've heard about Bhopal and Indore night curfew being imposed, but what's the scene there on ground zero? Spell out more details for us.
Good morning, Anil. As we know, the figures of coronavirus will, the increase they're increasing in Madhya Pradesh day by day. That's why the Chief Minister of Madhya Pradesh yesterday taking a cabinet meeting and give the directions to the two districts. The government will implement night curfew from today in Bhopal and Indore. From 10 p.m. to 6 a.m. and this will be implemented from today. No any other activities allowing in night curfew. Only the essential activities allowing in a night curfew in Bhopal and Indore, as well as 8 cities. The Gwalior, Ratlam, Baitul, Chhindwara, etc. There are 8 cities. There all markets will be closed at 10 p.m. Strictly. These orders also given by the state government. And no curfew implemented in those 8 cities, but night curfew will be implemented in Indore and Bhopal. Shivraj Singh Chauhan, Chief Minister, also said to the people, please follow all the instructions, all the protocol of COVID, like the wearing mask, maintain the social distancing, and also decided that no rallies, no the melees will be organized during the Holi festival or any other kind of activities. Those melas and exhibitions is continue in Bhopal and Indore to be shut 5 to 6 days.
Okay, Aditya, considering that Maharashtra is your neighboring state, is there any particular guidelines being given to, people using roadways, or for that matter, airways or railways reaching the state of Madhya Pradesh?
Yes, Anil, state government also said that the people, those comes from the Maharashtra and also the local administration for those districts which are the nearby the border of Maharashtra. Those people who are enter in the Madhya Pradesh, they all come across the thermal scanning, and also if they enter in Madhya Pradesh, the state government also said strictly 7 days home quarantine. The underway 7 days home quarantine at home, but we can say that in the nearby the state of local administration by the the Maharashtra districts like the Balaghat, Baitul. Those people enter in the districts. They also crossing the thermal scanning and also the home isolation. Also very important for that.
Okay, we'll leave it there. Thank you and appreciate you joining us with those updates there. But also take good care of yourself and guard yourself against COVID-19, especially in these testing times. That was Aditya Srivastava, correspondent, giving us an update with regards to that story. Let's now shift focus to Madhya Pradesh's neighboring state, the financial capital of India, Maharashtra, from where Shama, correspondent, joins us from Mumbai on the phone line. Shama, good morning. Shama, give us a sense purely in terms of, COVID numbers rising. I just read a report with regards to 15,000 cases being, reported there in the state of Maharashtra. But are there more, cases that are reaching the hospitals, or are there more cases of, home isolation and the numbers rising?
Well, good morning, Anil. First of all, we have, rising numbers each day, and since December end, we are seeing this surge and going upwards only. Yesterday, we saw 17,864 new cases. Yesterday, we also saw Health Minister Rajesh Tope's bite. In the sense, he was saying that this new wave of COVID is bringing new numbers to the fore, but this is not very serious as compared to the last time, because the hospitals are still having the capacity to have more patients. And right now, not all hospitals are not filled with the patients, or maybe critical patients. So this time around, the numbers are definitely rising, but the complications are less over here.
Okay.
And that is why he mentioned that Mumbai especially will not see a lockdown, but yes, stricter implementation of all the restrictions and measures would be done over here.
Okay.
Am I to tell the restrictions? Yesterday only BMC has issued an order to the educational institutions saying that because their teachers, the teaching staff and non-teaching staff were going to these schools or institutions for conducting the online classes or for other paperwork.
Okay.
But this time around, they have been asked that all work should be continuing from home. Even the teaching and everything will be continuing from home. Work from home has been ordered to them. Also,
Okay.
the private establishments, including the restaurants, multiplexes, single screen theaters, wedding halls, they have been asked that follow the rules properly. Otherwise, stricter punishment would be given on them. And the circular that we saw yesterday has clearly mentioned that they would be shut all throughout the pandemic period till the time it goes on. So
Okay.
yes, the numbers are definitely rising over here, and stricter measures are coming in.
Okay, the centre had very clearly told the state, plan for the worst case scenario. Now, what's the worst case scenario that the state government is, preparing for, in case we're looking at a second wave of COVID-19 affecting the western state?
In case of the worst case scenario, we already have our jumbo hospitals, the makeshift hospitals ready.
Okay.
And like the health minister already mentioned that these hospitals are still vacant, and they have the capacity that more patients can be admitted and more patients can be treated. So the hospitals and medical facilities are ready. And in worst case scenarios, we are already seeing that many districts in Maharashtra, including Nagpur, Pune, Pimpri Chinchwad, Jalna, and many districts, have already started imposing lockdowns, night curfew, Janta curfew. Saturday, Sundays would be totally shut. The essential commodities, except for essential commodities, many places shops would only remain till 1 p.m. and operating only till the evening at many places. So these are the measures that have already started being implemented at many various districts. And in the latest in the list was Mumbai yesterday when the BMC issued the circular. So yes, we are expecting, and it could be expected that more stringent measures would be implemented in Mumbai as well, because Mumbai is also one of the worst hit districts as compared to the rest of the districts in Maharashtra.
Okay, now give us a sense. There are restaurants, there are malls that have been asked to operate at 50% of their capacity, follow all the social distancing norms. Also take care of the fact that somewhere are people ready to cooperate. At the end of the day, people coming out to restaurants to eat, rather would want to sit back and enjoy the meal. But now you're not left in that kind of a situation where you rather need to finish up your meal quickly and leave the place, considering that there would be many people who would want to dine out. So is that pressure on the restaurants and the malls, and are people somewhere ready to adjust?
Well, yes, the people were thinking that the whole pandemic is over, and they had become careless after the vaccination drive had begun. They were really hopeful, and they became careless of the fact that the pandemic is still very much there, and it will affect them or their family members, and that is why they put their guards down. All the administration and whoever is associated to the health department have been saying to the people that don't let your guards down, because at many places, at many bazaars, we could see crowded places, many people, and not wearing their masks, or wearing the mask below their nose or below their chin, so it is useless kind of thing. And that is why people have been again and again asked that keep wearing your mask properly. In case of these restaurants, earlier they were asked to operate at 50% capacity, and when this happened, the restaurants had ensured that in case of 10 seats, first would be used, and the second would be vacant, and so on. But now we are seeing that all these spots are being used by the customers, and the like you mentioned, there is a pressure on the restaurant owners and the food establishment owners. So everywhere people have let their guards down.
Okay.
Like in the earlier times, we were seeing that people were very careful about the fact that they are, they really want to go out and eat. This thing has gone out of their mind that, something like the coronavirus is there outside, and they have let their guards down. And that is why on these establishments also, continuous checking is happening, and whoever is found guilty, like they are, flouting the restrictions, flouting the rules,
Okay.
they would be punished. And earlier, like I've mentioned in the circular, they could be shut down for the entire pandemic period as the punishment.
Okay, we'll leave it there. You take good care of yourself, keep yourself hydrated well, and take good care of your health, especially in this testing times. A quick update there from Nagpur. All shops in Nagpur to shut down by 1 p.m. This is being stated by the Municipal Commissioner there, Radhakrishnan B. He said that all standalone shops dealing with essential commodities except medical shops can operate only till 1 p.m. So the strict norms getting stricter there in the western state of Maharashtra. We'll keep you updated on India's fight against COVID-19 that's going in top gear, especially in many states that are reporting high number of cases. Well, time now for us to slip into a short breather here on News on the Hour. On the other side, we'll take a look at all the international stories and news from the world of business and sports. Stay tuned.
The changing world of news. Headlines that you wake up to. News that shapes your day. Stories that matter to you. The latest and most accurate updates. A fresh start to a new day. The Breakfast News, Monday to Friday, 8 a.m. on DD India. Your window to rising India. India's voice on global platforms. Latest news from India and around the world. In-depth analysis of global headlines. Watch DD India in your country. Available for downlink in Middle East countries. STTV broadcast is available through the satellite GSAT 17 at 93.5 degrees east. HDTV broadcast is available through the satellite GSAT 10 at 83 degrees east. For technical details, scan here. Switch to DD India now.
Welcome back to News on the Hour. Continue with stories from India and the world, starting first up with neighboring Bangladesh, which is celebrating the 101st birth anniversary of former president of Bangladesh, Sheikh Mujibur Rahman today, popularly referred to as Banga Bandhu or as a friend of Bangladesh. Sheikh Mujibur Rahman was one of the tallest leaders of Bangladesh. His birth anniversary is celebrated as National Children's Day in the country. He is considered as the architect of independent Bangladesh and the father of Bangladesh. Prime Minister Narendra Modi extended heartfelt homage to Banga Bandhu Sheikh Mujibur Rahman, a champion of human rights and freedom. On his birth anniversary, he said he is a hero for all Indians too. It will be my honor to visit Bangladesh later this month for the historic Mujib Borsho celebrations. External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar also paid homage to Banga Bandhu Sheikh Mujibur Rahman on his birth anniversary. In a tweet, he said, and I quote, "His ideals continue to inspire millions across the world. India is proud to celebrate his legacy jointly with Bangladesh in this historic Mujib Borsho." Prime Minister Narendra Modi will be visiting Bangladesh on the 26th and 27th of this month. This visit is in connection with the commemoration of three big events: Mujib Borsho, the birth anniversary, the birth centenary of Sheikh Mujibur Rahman, 50 years of the establishment of diplomatic ties between India and Bangladesh and 50 years of Bangladesh's War of Liberation. Prime Minister last visited Bangladesh in 2015. During the visit, Prime Minister will attend the National Day program of Bangladesh on the 26th of March as the guest of honor. The program of the Prime Minister, apart from holding bilateral consultations with Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina, also includes a call on the President of Bangladesh, His Excellency Mohammad Abdul Hamid. The visit of the Prime Minister to Bangladesh will be the first visit to a foreign country since the outbreak of the COVID pandemic. This highlights the priority India attaches to Bangladesh. The UK's Prime Minister Boris Johnson has announced his visit to India next month. Speaking in Britain's Parliament, the UK's Prime Minister said he would be visiting India in April for strengthening ties with the world's largest democracy. Johnson said that his government wanted to strengthen relations with countries outside Europe, and for this they have invited India, Australia and South Korea to the G7 summit. The G7 summit will be held in Cornwall from the 11th to the 13th of June. G7 is an intergovernmental organization consisting of Canada, France, Germany, Italy, Japan, United Kingdom and the United States.
Britain will remain unswervingly committed to NATO and preserving peace and security in Europe. And from this secure basis, we will seek out friends and partners wherever they can be found, building a coalition for openness and innovation and engaging more deeply in the Indo-Pacific. I have invited the leaders of Australia, South Korea and India to attend the G7 summit in Carbis Bay in June. And I'm delighted to announce that I will visit India next month to strengthen our friendship with the world's biggest democracy.
But for more on the story, we've got Amrit Pal tracking MEA for us, joining us this morning. Amrit, good morning. Amrit, this particular visit by the UK's Prime Minister to India, do you somewhere feel that there is a policy tilt, especially when it comes to UK out of Brexit, and now looking at a different dynamic, especially for the near future?
That's right, Anil, that now that the Brexit has taken place, UK is looking for trade partners elsewhere. The pivot has shifted from Europe and it's looking at expanding its relationship with the world in terms of trade and investments, jobs. The pandemic has brought about the need for a lot of jobs, especially in the medical industry, in hospitals. They're opening up more hospitals, investing a lot in the health infrastructure because of the pandemic, and they need doctors and nurses. Earlier, the EU was supplying that, and now after the Brexit, all that medical professionals have gone back to Europe. They're looking for basically skilled labor. They're looking for trade. They're looking for investment, and that's why you see, Britain trying and exploring it, not just with countries like India, which have a huge potential for trade and investment. Okay. Currently, the trade and investment stands at about $24 billion, okay, and 500,000 jobs. But the potential is much, much more. And I think when Prime Minister Johnson comes here in India, he would be looking at exploring that. And you're right, the pivot has shifted. They're looking at, for trade investment in the Pacific region, in the Indo-Pacific, in Southeast Asia, in Australia, in Japan. So that is from a trade point of view.
Okay, also put this into perspective for us. When he talks about the Indo-Pacific region and the importance to Indo-Pacific region, he also talks about this particular region representing the geopolitical center of the world. How does one explain that? Suddenly, when the UK's Prime Minister talks about the Indo-Pacific, laying such a lot of stress on the Indo-Pacific region.
Well, if their government is undergoing a policy tilt, okay, which the Prime Minister mentioned. The integrated review mentions that very, very clearly. Okay. So, Indo-Pacific, with its growing importance in becoming the center of geopolitics, Britain would want to have its influence there. It's part of important alliances like the NATO, but it's looking at alliances, joining alliances though it hasn't formally, spoken about joining Quad, but it has given feelers that it is interested in the Indo-Pacific. Secondly, it has a very, troublesome relationship with China. In the past, we've seen Prime Minister Johnson say that, Chinese values do not match with the open and democratic values of Britain. So, though it does trade with China and is trying to keep the trade on track because it needs to do trade with the world, but it is wary of the Chinese. So, given that it would want the sphere of influence, it wouldn't want to be left out, especially when countries like Japan and Australia, India, and the United States are looking to invest in that. And secondly, the sea lanes that pass through this region are very, very important sea lanes from both security and trade point of view. And the stated purpose of Quad is to ensure a free and fair Indo-Pacific. So Britain would want to invest there.
Also, briefly tell us, with regards to, Britain wanting to be a dialogue partner, especially in ASEAN. What's the larger role that Britain looks at, especially when it wants to be a dialogue partner?
It wants to increase both its trade and its influence, and that's why it's looking at that comprehensive and progressive Trans-Pacific agreement, where it's looking at trying to establish trade relations with the 11 bloc nation, or becoming a dialogue partner with the ASEAN, as you mentioned. So it's basically looking at trade opportunities, trade collaborations, and also expanding its sphere of influence as the balance of power shifts in this region.
Okay, we'll leave it there. Thank you and appreciate you joining us with those inputs there, especially when it comes to the UK Prime Minister's visit to India that's scheduled to take place next month. Well, moving on, Europe's medicine regulator has said there is no indication that the Oxford Astrazeneca COVID-19 vaccine has caused blood clots, as the list of countries temporarily halting the vaccine's rollout over safety concerns continue to grow. European Medical Authority, that's EMA, and other international medical agencies have said that the benefits of getting shots into arms outweigh any potential risks. On Tuesday, Cyprus, Luxembourg, Latvia and Sweden became the latest European nations to suspend its use, while Germany, France, Italy, Spain, Sweden, Belgium, Portugal, Ireland, Netherlands, Indonesia have all paused the use of AstraZeneca's vaccine as a precautionary measure. Still, the EMA Safety Committee is investigating whether there is any possible link between the Oxford AstraZeneca vaccine and a small number of blood clots in vaccinated people. It is slated to release its findings during an extraordinary meeting called by the agency tomorrow. The continent confronts a third wave of the pandemic spurred by variants of the virus, with AstraZeneca not the only vaccine available in Europe. Countries continue to undertake vaccination drive using other authorized vaccines, including the BioNTech, Pfizer, Moderna and Johnson & Johnson. Denmark was the first country to press pause on the AstraZeneca vaccine last Thursday as a precautionary measure, while Danish health officials investigate the potential side effects after one person who developed a blood clot after vaccination died. Norway, Iceland and Bulgaria quickly followed suit. Notably, the number of deaths from COVID-19 across Europe has passed the 9 lakh mark on Tuesday, making it the deadliest region.
Investigation is ongoing. We are still firmly convinced that the benefits of the AstraZeneca vaccine in preventing COVID-19 with its associated risk of hospitalization and death outweigh the risk of these side effects. These are very rare thrombo events or blood clots. We need to evaluate these very, very carefully. At the ad hoc meeting today, we will have a further update. But as I said, it's Thursday when we expect the evaluation to conclude. EMA is taking this situation very, very seriously, and we will continue to make sure that the European population is informed about the ongoing analysis of this assessment.
Meanwhile, Britain's Foreign Secretary Dominic Raab has come out forward in support of the use of Astrazeneca vaccine, saying there are no grounds to suspend taking the vaccine or the rollout, and urge people to continue to take the jab.
Well, different countries will have different tripwires for things that they need to check if they pick up on certain evidence or results. And we've got some of the most stringent checks. So you'll remember in relation to allergies during the trials, that was something that was picked up on and checked very carefully. But different countries have different approaches. What I can tell you crystal clear, the UK regulator, the European, the EU regulator and the WHO all say that the AstraZeneca vaccine is safe and people should continue to take it.
Well, Australia has no plans to halt the use of AstraZeneca's COVID-19 vaccine. Australian Chief Medical Officer Paul Kelly has said that any unusual event will be investigated, but as of now, there has been none. The majority of Australia's 25 million people will be administered the AstraZeneca vaccine, and authorities have secured nearly 54 million doses, with 50 million to be produced locally from the end of March.
Here in Australia, safety is our first priority, and in any large vaccine rollout we do expect to see unusual events, and we monitor very closely and carefully for those. But this does not mean that an event that happens after vaccination has been given is indeed due to that vaccine. So we do always take it seriously, we do investigate, but in this situation I can absolutely say that I remain confident in the AstraZeneca vaccine, that it's safe, and that there is at this point no evidence that it causes blood clots.
Well, French Prime Minister Jean Castex warned on Tuesday that France may be facing a sort of a third wave of COVID-19 due to the emergence of variants, notably the strain first observed in Britain. French lawmakers held a moment of silence during Tuesday's National Assembly session in homage to the 90,762 French people who have died due to COVID-19. French hospitals have been for the past week being confronted with increased pressure as they see an uptick in the number of intensive care admissions. A quick take on COVID-19 numbers from across the world. The global COVID-19 case tally has crossed 12 crore mark 3 days ago. It now stands at 12 crore 12 lakh. Total recoveries 9 crore 78 lakhs. Total deaths 26 lakh 82,000. Lives worldwide being lost. United States, the worst affected by the pandemic, both in terms of infections and deaths. In terms of infections, 3 crore 1 lakh. In terms of deaths, the country is now crossing or inching towards the 5.5 lakh mark. The current death in the United States of America stands at over 5,49,000. An update on the situation in Myanmar. A group of protesters demonstrating against the military use in Myanmar lobbed petrol bombs on a bridge in the city of Yangon on Tuesday, setting makeshift barricades on fire. According to the United Nations Human Rights Office, at least 149 people have been killed in Myanmar since the Feb 1st coup, as security forces used live ammunition against protesters and bystanders. According to the United Nations Food Agency, the political and economic crisis over the Feb 1st overthrow of Aung San Suu Kyi's elected government could also force the poor into hunger as food and fuel prices rise. Also, martial law has been imposed in parts of Yangon, and military commanders would take over administration of districts and courts. US Vice President Kamala Harris made a debut at the United Nations on Tuesday, telling a meeting on gender equality that democracy fundamentally depends on the empowerment of women and that democracy globally is increasing under great strain. Harris, in a video statement to the 65th Commission on the Status of Women, said that the United Nations would work to improve both. She also said that the US President Joe Biden's administration would revitalize Washington's partnership with the UN Women, a UN body dedicated to gender equality and the empowerment of women. US director Spike Lee has been named as the president of the jury for the 2021 Cannes Film Festival after last year's event, which Lee was set to chair, was cancelled due to the COVID-19 pandemic. The 2020 Cannes Festival, one of the movie industry's biggest events, was first postponed from May to the end of June, then cancelled. In the end, organizers held a low-key 3-day event in October showcasing a range of short films. With COVID-19 still raging in France, the festival is now scheduled the 2021 edition from July 6 to 17th instead of May as the usual. Lee, at 63, who made his name in the 1980s with She's Gotta Have It and Do the Right Thing, won the Cannes Grand Prix in 2018 with Black Klansman. The other members of the jury and the film selected for the program will be announced in early June. The 74th Palme d'Or will be presented on July 17th. Well, heading for another short commercial break here. Lots more lined up on the other side. Stay tuned and keep watching DD India.
Namaste land.
Marhaban ila al-Hind.
Zari India.
Salam India. Namaste India.
Namaskar Bharata.
Mui
India.
Nahnu Hunud.
India.
Ma Hindi Hasti.
Mung Hindian.
Salam Hindustan.
We are India.
Well, welcome back to News on the Hour. Time now to take a look at markets in India, how they have opened. Well, Indian markets have opened flat this morning, tracking a decline in the Asian peers as investors awaited the Federal Reserve's meet that's expected later tonight. Investors remain cautious about whether the central bank will maintain near zero interest rates amid the economy's post-pandemic recovery, and gains in IT and FMCG stocks were capped by losses in the banking and metal sectors. Among key headline indices, the benchmark S&P BSE Sensex was trading at 50,246, while the NSE Nifty was trading at 14,867 levels. Well, coming to US stocks, the S&P 500 ended lower on Tuesday as investors awaited the results of the Federal Reserve's two-day policy meeting. The US stock market lacked direction for much of the day after the S&P 500 and Dow Jones Industrial Average closed at record highs in the prior session as optimism about the 1.9 trillion fiscal stimulus package and ongoing vaccination drive bolstered views that the economy was on a path of recovery. Well, moving on to sports news. First up, cricket, where India has got once again thrashed by England by 8 wickets in the third T20 match in Ahmedabad on Tuesday night, and England for the first time have taken a 2-1 lead in the 5-match series. Chasing a target of 157 set by India, England comfortably made 158, losing just 2 wickets in 18.2 overs, which means 8-wicket win with 10 deliveries to spare. Joss Buttler, the star of that English chase, with an unbeaten 83, setting the tempo for India now to do the catching up in the fourth game that's expected on 18th. On the football news, Manchester City moved into the Champions League quarter-finals for a fourth successive season by completing a comprehensive 4-0 aggregate victory over German club Borussia Mönchengladbach. Leading 2-0 after the first leg, Manchester City's Kevin De Bruyne and Gundogan scored 2 goals, leading to a 4-0 aggregate win. Spanish club Real Madrid reached the Champions League quarter-finals for the first time in 3 seasons with a clinical second-leg performance against Atlanta. Leading 1-0 from the first leg, Real doubled their advantage in the tie when Karim Benzema scored in the 34th minute and skipper Sergio Ramos added Real Madrid's second of the night from the penalty spot in the 60th minute. So Real progressed into the quarter-finals 3-0 on aggregate. Well, Tiger is out of the woods. Golfer Tiger Woods has said he is back home and continuing his recovery after suffering severe leg injuries in a car accident last month. The 45-year-old golfer took to Twitter to talk about his recovery, that he will be recovering at home and working on getting stronger every day. Woods, who was treated at the Harbour ULCA Medical Centre as well as the Cedar Sinai Medical Centre, thanked the medical team as well as his fans for their best wishes. Well, Tiger Woods there, a happy man back home, taking care of his recovery while he looks to be back on the golf course, hitting those greens and enjoying a run, winning those Masters. Well, now shifting focus to the Olympic Games or the Summer Games that are expected to take place this year. Tokyo Olympic organizers have called on roadside spectators at a torch relay to be masked and practice social distancing as part of measures to prevent the spread of COVID-19 during the marquee event. They add that the torch relay staff from Tokyo must test negative for the coronavirus before being dispatched to the local areas. The 121-day torch relay is set to begin on March 25th from the J Village Training Center in Fukushima, launching up to the build-up towards the start of the Games on July 23rd. The grand start ceremony and the first section of the torch relay on day 1 will not be open to the public as organizers reduce the number of participants and simplify the program to help prevent the spread of the new coronavirus. The iconic Statue of Unity in Gujarat has set a new milestone. The statue has seen footfalls of over 50 lakh visitors since it was inaugurated by Prime Minister Narendra Modi in October 2018. Located in Kevadia in the Narmada district of Gujarat, the statue is an international tourism destination since it's the tallest statue in the world. The statue, which has a height of 182 meters, is a tribute to the Iron Man of India, Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel, who was the first Deputy Prime Minister of the country. Sharing the information, Prime Minister Narendra Modi in a tweet said that everybody must visit the Statue of Unity in Kevadia. Do plan a trip there whenever you can. Well, many tourists tend to search for attractions online when planning a trip. To meet this demand, Can Tho, the largest city in Vietnam, has been offering an online tourism portal and the Can Tho tourism application on mobile devices to provide visitors with more accurate and detailed information about local attractions, accommodations and eateries. Information on places to eat, Vietnamese pancakes and salted fish hot pots, booking accommodation in Can Tho, a 360-degree virtual tour and directions on the interactive map can all be found on this portal. Well, that's all we have time for in this edition of News on the Hour. Remember, we all are fighting the pandemic and we all are trying to take care of not only ourselves but also of our loved ones. So do not forget to wear your mask at all times when you step out of the house. Also, maintain social distancing at all possible times. If possible, wash your hands regularly. If not, use a hand sanitizers to keep yourself clean and hygienic. It's important. Remember, vaccines are there. Vaccines are around the corner, but we'll have to wait for a time for the shot to come. Till then, we can follow the simple rules of taking care by wearing a mask. So do not forget that, and let's continue with the battle against COVID-19. Thanks for watching. You take good care of yourself. Have a safe and wonderful day ahead. Bye-bye.